All right, so today we're diving into a case that's equal parts baffling and heartbreaking.
Mm.
The disappearance of Asha Degree. It's a story that's, well, it's haunted folks for over 2 decades now. And we're going to try to unpack all the details, the clues, just all the lingering questions around this whole unsolved mystery.
And you really weren't kidding with that diving in bit. You've got articles, reports. It's enough to make anyone's head spin.
Right. But that's why you're here. We're talking 9-year-old Asha Degree vanished from her home in Shelby, North Carolina back in 2000. And the thing is, it's like she just vanished. Poof. Gone.
Yeah, and that's what makes this case so interesting. I mean, everything we know about Asha before that night, totally normal kid, happy, loved basketball, doing well in school, close family. It's almost like unsettling. Like this could happen to anyone.
Okay, so let's set the scene. February 13th, 2000, a Sunday. Asha's day is totally normal. Church, basketball practice with her brother, dinner at home, in bed by 8, your average winter weekend night. But then, sometime between 2:30 and 4:80 a.m., while a storm's raging outside, she disappears.
And that storm, right? It's like every article mentions it. It almost makes it feel like a movie or something.
Totally. But it also makes you wonder, right? Like, did the storm have something to do with it? Did it, provide cover for someone? Or was it just a really creepy coincidence?
Tough to say.
And then things get even weirder. Because get this, between 3.45 and 4.15 that same morning, two different people driving along Highway 18, which is a ways away from Asha's house, they both reported seeing a little girl walking by herself along the road. One of them even turned around to check on her, but when he got close, she just ran off into the woods.
No, that is strange. Like, what was she doing out there? On Highway 18, middle of the night, during a storm, miles from home. Was she running from something or someone? Was she lured there? I mean, these are the questions that have been bugging investigators for, well, forever.
And hold on, it gets weirder. When Asha's parents realized she was gone, they noticed some of her favorite clothes were gone too. Like, it's almost like she planned it, you know? And for a 9-year-old, it's just, I don't know, creepy.
Yeah, that detail definitely muddies the waters. And it becomes even more important when we consider what happened 17 months later.
17 months. Okay, so fast forward. But wait, what happened? Did they find her?
Well, 17 months after Asha disappeared, her backpack was found.
No. Well, that's good, right. Like maybe a sign?
You'd think so, but it really just makes things more complicated.
How?
It was found buried. Like someone had put it in a plastic bag and buried it along Highway 18, almost 30 miles north of Shelby. Found by a construction crew.
30 miles. There's no way a 9-year-old walked that far, let alone with a backpack, in the middle of the night. During a storm. No way.
Exactly. And then there's what they found inside.
Okay, what was in it?
Well, some clothes, candy wrappers.
Yeah.
To be expected. But then there's the curveball.
Hit me?
A Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah.
McKelligott's Pool, checked out from her school library. Oh, and a New Kids on the Block t-shirt. That wasn't hers.
Hold up. A book and a t-shirt that didn't belong to her. Okay, now those sound like clues. What could those mean? And how did they even end up with her stuff?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, that book, the t-shirt, it's fueled endless theories. Were they just things she liked? Or, and this is where it gets interesting, could they be something more, like clues left on purpose?
A message. Who would she be sending a message to, and why?
It's definitely a puzzle. One thought is maybe she was influenced by someone who maybe used the book or even the band on the shirt, to gain her trust. Kids that age are so influenced by things, stories, music, things like that.
So you're saying this might not have been random at all? Like it was planned?
It's a possibility. And if that's the case, then figuring out why that book, why that shirt, it could be the key to the whole thing.
Okay, so we've got this seemingly ordinary girl, vanishes, stormy night, a trip no one can explain, and a backpack full of strange stuff. It's like a detective novel, Where do we even start to make sense of this?
Well, we got to look at all the angles, right? So running away, she took some clothes, which seems like she planned it, kinda. But she was 9, and by all accounts, loved her family, had a good home.
Plus that distance, 30 miles.
Yeah.
For a kid in that weather.
Yeah. And why bury the backpack? If you're running away, you'd think you'd want to keep your stuff.
Exactly. It's hard to make that theory add up. So that brings us to abduction.
I mean, you think about the time of night, the storm, the fact she's seen miles from home on a highway. It's hard not to think about that. And she ran when that driver tried to approach her. Makes you think she might have been scared of someone or scared of what might happen. But then if she was taken, why leave the backpack? And why bury it?
It's like whoever was involved wanted to make sure someone knew, but not everyone.
And that's where the DNA gets interesting.
Right. The reports mentioned there were 2 different DNA profiles on the stuff from the backpack. One of them, they connected to a guy, let me see if I can say his name right, Russell Underhill. He's passed away since then, but they couldn't figure out why his DNA was on Asha's things for years.
And it wasn't until pretty recently, with those new DNA techniques and ancestry databases, that they were able to maybe make a connection.
And that's where Roy and Connie Dedman come in.
Dingo!
Yeah.
The search warrants that were just unsealed, they say that this Russell Underhill, he was actually being cared for by Roy Dedman around the time Asha went missing.
So it's possible Roy Dedman could have had access to Asha,
Hmm.
or at least her things.
It's possible. Now, to be clear, no charges or anything yet against the Dedmans, but that link to Underhill, with his DNA being on Asha's things, it's a big deal.
And then there's that other DNA profile, found on Asha's shirt. Belongs to the Dedman's daughter.
Which just adds another layer of what the heck is going on to this whole thing.
It's like every time you think you're getting close to something, another weird thing pops up.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what about that New Kids on the Block t-shirt? The one they found at the Dedman's place. Is that the same shirt from Asha's backpack?
That's the thing. They haven't said much about it. Keeping quiet on the details, which, understandable given how big this case is.
It's like one of those puzzles where you think you're almost there, and then, bam, you realize there's like a whole other section you didn't even know about.
Yeah, and it's those missing pieces, the why, the how. Those are always the hardest to find. But even without all the answers, we can still, look at what we've got, see if there's a pattern, try to connect some dots.
So where do we even start? We have these 2 people, Underhill and the Dedman daughter, linked to Asha's stuff through DNA. But they seem totally random. What are the odds?
Slim to none, really. That's why the investigators are probably laser focused on these 2. Was there something in their past, their relationships, anything that could be a clue here?
And what about the book, McKelliget's Pool? We've talked about the t-shirt, the DNA, all that. But that book always felt weird to me. Why take a library book, especially one that belonged to Asha's little brother?
Right. And remember, the investigators actually asked the public about that book and the shirt back in 2018. They think those things are important. Maybe more than just random stuff she grabbed.
Like a symbol or a message. I mean, the book, it's about this kid who imagines a whole different world under this pool, right? It's like maybe Asha, in her own way, was drawn to something different too, a different world.
It's an interesting thought, for sure. Especially if we entertain the idea that she was led to this, that someone used these items to get to her. What if that book, that shirt, they were chosen for a reason? To connect with her.
So are you saying whoever took Asha, if that's what happened, was trying to appeal to her? Like draw her into their world?
It's possible, right? And if that's true, the key to this whole thing might be figuring out what kind of person would choose those specific things. What were they trying to say? What world were they trying to, share with her?
It's chilling, really.
It is, and it's these questions that have been stumping everyone for years. But with all these new developments, these leads, there's got to be some hope, right? Someone out there knows something.
Yeah, like a neighbor, a friend, someone who saw something odd but didn't think anything of it at the time. Maybe they just haven't put it all together yet.
Happens more than you think. Memories get fuzzy, details slip your mind. But sometimes all it takes is a little something to jog your memory.
And maybe, just maybe, listening to us, hearing these details, that'll be something for someone.
That's what we hope, anyway, that by keeping Asha's story out there, asking these questions, maybe we can help bring some peace to this whole heartbreaking thing.
Yeah, and to Asha's family who've been living this nightmare for over 20 years, all we can offer is, well, hope. Hope that one day the truth will come out.
The truth is out there, as they say, and sometimes it really is hidden in plain sight. Maybe disguised as a children's book or a concert t-shirt. It makes you wonder, what will it take for us to finally see it?
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we try to make sense of the truly perplexing disappearance of Asha Degree.